Hello, everyone. My name is Algo. I'm here with my friend Joe.
Hello. My cats are doing crazy things right now.
Nice. They knew that you were on microphone, so they're like, it's time to perform. So
get a box cat, everyone.
So today we are going to be discussing Minecraft. Now, the title is How Minecraft Changed My Life, and it applies to both Joe and me. I don't like to make super huge exaggerations. This is like how Minecraft changed my life. That's literally the truth. Minecraft, for both of us, completely pointed us towards the trajectory that we're on. Now, granted, there were other things that helped with that too, like other games that we may have played or people that we met or whatever. But mainly in terms of our career paths and just our interests in general, Minecraft has really led us down the path that we are today. So we'll start off by just kind of talking about what Minecraft is. I mean, most people know what Minecraft is, but like some of the most important things about it, really, mainly that it is the most true sandbox. What was that?
You mine and you craft.
Yeah, pretty much that. Or if you play creative mode, you take away the mining part and double down on the crafting part.
Exactly. Yeah, Minecraft, ever since its inception, can't speak, I mean, for me, it's the pinnacle of like knowing what game you're developing, what you're setting out to do, and just going towards it like more than any other. Like, let's just give people infinite ability to do whatever they want.
Yeah. It's honestly, it is really crazy. The types of things you can create in Minecraft. Like, it's so a lot of people play Minecraft, especially nowadays, in survival mode. That's where it's kind of become the most popular. You have all sorts of, you have YouTubers doing Minecraft speed runs. You have multiple different VTuber generations all doing it. You have like the whole dream thing where there was like, the big scandal. You have Captain Sparkles with his all of his songs, especially the classic Creeper Aw Man. Minecraft has really come back into the forefront, but primarily as the survival game, which is like half of the game. Right now, Minecraft is a big, like, there are so much things that you can do in order to be surviving, and there's a lot of crafting in that, like making custom home bases and everything. And you can still do things like use redstone in survival Minecraft, but it's way more difficult because those resources are limited, and if you were to want to build a big structure, you're going to have to like build scaffolding for yourself to actually be able to get up there, versus creative mode, which is what Joe and I played a lot. So like creative,
you can say that again.
Yeah. It's like I can't really state enough exactly how much we played. Let's see, I'm trying to think of exactly how to word that. We played creative mode a lot. Like I talked about in Joe and my last talk show, we talked about Call of Duty Zombies and how we played that a lot. And we played some like Halo and everything. And when Destiny came out, we played a lot of Destiny. But Minecraft was probably our biggest thing that we played consistently. And it was because Joe and I were creating things. I personally
I would say it was always like, for that time, it was always our second game.
Yeah.
Like we chose a game to focus on, and then when we got bored, we'd go play Minecraft.
Yeah, pretty much. We would play Call of Duty Zombies for a while. Like that would be like the game that we play a bunch, and then it would be like, okay, let's do some Minecraft stuff, and then we'd play that for a bit, and then be like, oh, Halo Reach, let's play that and maybe make some maps and play the campaign and everything. All right, let's go to Minecraft and do some more, and then Destiny came out. We play that for a bit. And then in the big, many lulls in content, it was like, all right, back to Minecraft. And boy, and here's the thing. I personally, I don't want to say I don't enjoy it, but I'm not as big of a fan of the survival mode in Minecraft. I think it's pretty, I don't want to say tedious, but I mean, it's kind of basic. There's not really a whole ton. It is a create your own adventure type thing, which is what a lot of people enjoy. But the stuff that I enjoy so much are just creating. Funny you're talking about Minecraft. I just reinstalled and started goofing off in it again. Nice. Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic game. It's kind of like the lightning in a bottle of games. Like, a lot of people have tried to do something similar, and there are other really great games that that are like worth playing hundreds, thousands of hours in. But Minecraft is just, it's something special, like, especially just because it is true creative freedom. Like, more so than any other game that's really ever existed, and probably than most any other game that ever will exist. So,
for some reason, it's the best-selling game in all of history.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a surprise. And the other cool thing about it is that it is like all age groups can do it. If you're pretty young, you can play it, do survival, just kind of explore around, or you can play creative and make some goofy, weird buildings and everything. If you're like, a teen that you've just got all this extra time, if you're, feeling super creative, you can make a map. If you're, just feeling like playing a game, you can play the survival and everything. But it's like, it's relaxed enough that you can play it at any skill level and still really get something out of it. So the regular gameplay, the survival gameplay of Minecraft is just really, really, really wonderful. But for me personally, the thing that I enjoy even more, and the thing that Joe and I spent the most time in, was that creative mode. And creative mode was, you could fly around anywhere and go really, really fast with that, full of 3D controls. You had any number of blocks or things that you wanted. I want to add in this pickaxe. Well, you can make yourself 100 of those pickaxes and put them in this chest here. There were like all sorts of different ways to go through and really keep like making whatever you want, and especially in the PC version. But Joe and I played Xbox 360 version the most.
We played it. I was looking at the timeline. It came out in 2012, which doesn't seem right because we were 14 at the time.
Oh man. Yeah, that is crazy to think about. Wow. Yeah, and it's like we were playing it like right at the start.
Invited to many parties in high school. We were.
Yeah. I always laugh. I think I was talking to you or to someone about this the other day, like a week or two ago. Minecraft also, I think, is probably one of the games that created the most clones. Like, I guess there's a lot, there's like Five Nights at Freddy's and Undertale, and nowadays, like, even Friday Night Funkin', that game ended up becoming, like, all of these games ended up just making like hundreds of thousands of clones. But Minecraft was like the first one of those games, because this was also around the time that a lot of people were getting these independent game development tools. And so you had one of the ones I remember the most actually is Castle Miner Z, which kind of became its own game, but still is a Minecraft clone.
If anyone's never played it, probably shouldn't bother.
Yeah, it's probably good for you. And I remember some of my friends from, well, I guess I shouldn't even say friends, because they were people that would sometimes talk to me. I don't know if you remember like Leo and Sean and Mikey and all of them. Yeah. They invited me to an Xbox Live party where they were playing Castle Miner Z. And I remember, I'm pretty sure I even said this to them. I was like, why aren't we just playing Minecraft? And they were like, Minecraft. But they were playing Minecraft just watered down and crappy. But but whatever.
With guns.
Yeah. Ooh. And the crafting is really, really confusing and annoying, but that's what makes it awesome. So yeah, Minecraft is just, it is really special. Now you may ask yourself, we've talked for about 15 minutes about how awesome Minecraft is, but you may ask, if we were playing creative mode all the time, what in the world were we doing? Well, we'll get into that, because we have to sort of set the stage a little bit for what got us so interested in playing this game and doing creative things in it.
It was the far off time of 2012.
Yes, way back when the world had just ended and Minecraft came out.
Yeah, it came out on the 360.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Minecraft first was made in Java, and I think it first came out as like a browser thing. But pretty soon after, it ended up coming out for like on PC and for Xbox, and like it ended up being a pretty big hit. And so
one might say,
yeah, just a little bit of a big hit. It definitely spawned a very obnoxious fandom, and that's why it ended up falling out of style for quite a few years, and then came back because a lot of those people grew up, and then they started talking on Twitter about how much they enjoyed Minecraft, and then someone at some point linked Creeper All Man, and then it was like, oh yes, I remember I too was a cringy child at some point and liked these songs. But
I was one of the cool kids who never stopped.
That's right. I listen to that every day before I go to bed. I still, it's like, goofy, dumb lyrics aside, I do like, there's like that one and Take Back the Night. Those ones are like, I like listening to those ones. I think it's probably mostly because of the actual, just like the musical, the musicality of it. It's like the rhythms are great. The beat is wonderful. It's like the way that all the instruments move around, and the vocals actually like really complement the music. So, but then you got
it's a good song.
Then you got the part of Captain Sparkles rapping about building a diamond sword, and it's like, okay, well, maybe not anymore.
And that's enough.
Yeah. So let's we'll kind of take through like the our sort of experience of when we first started with Minecraft. So when you first start in just Minecraft at all, you do have access to a tutorial world. And this tutorial world had a whole lot of wonderful stuff. It had like I'm trying to remember exactly what the first tutorial world had.
Well, there was the giant Minecraft wolf sign.
Mm-hmm. I think this when there was actually like something hidden in the sign as well? You could climb into it.
Yeah, I think so.
It was always pretty fun.
There was a giant castle. The thing I remember the most was the cobblestone generator that built a bridge.
Yeah, it was a really good showcasing of exactly, like a very simple example of exactly what redstone could do.
Right.
But like you see it, and it's like, oh, that actually, like you look at the actual wiring for it, and you're like, that's not really too difficult. I can make that, and then you kind of start messing around with it, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of things you can do with this.
I remember the first time I ever played the tutorial, I was like, why is there blood on the ground?
Yes. Yeah, that's I guess that's always the funny thing. That's what it, like, redstone is mostly used for, like, or I should say, like, the redstone that you can see is pretty much always just to indicate blood. It's just always funny to me, because that is kind of what it looks like, just like a blood puddle. I still remember, I think, like, the first real redstone creation I made was like just a standard cobblestone or a sticky piston door, and just a standard, like, 2 blocks get pulled out to the left and 2 blocks get pulled out to the right, and so it makes a square opening.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, exciting. And then of course later on figured out the ways to do it where you actually like pull the pistons out as well, and all sorts of weird things like that. There were some crazy builds you could do even early on. So like early on, redstone was basically just you had, for anyone who doesn't know what redstone is, it's essentially wiring, like a copper wire or something. You have your input and output, and then your redstone is the wiring to connect between those. And so your input could be like a switch where when you press on that switch, it activates the wiring and will send a signal through the wiring. There's also like the wiring itself. Whatever inputs you send through aren't always going to just last. They're not always going to be permanently throughout the whole thing. They have like a diminishing effect where after like 15 or so blocks of wiring, it starts to go away. And so you have to put in a repeater in order to sort of extend that. And the repeater will give it a slight delay, and you can add more of a delay if you want, but it'll give it a very slight delay, but it will refresh that signal to maximum. And then on your output, you have things like pistons to push blocks. You have sticky pistons, which can grab onto blocks and pull them. You have like dispensers, which will spit out an item from whatever they hold. And then more and more complex things, like you can activate certain boosted rails on minecart tracks so that you can go through really fast. Or if you don't have them activated, they actually will stop a minecart as long as it's not going too fast. And so you can use that as sort of a stop, and then like a switch. A lot of times people would use them at like the start and end of a minecart path. And so you press the button and that will activate the minecart and send it flying in the other direction, sort of thing.
When we first started, there was like maybe 3 outputs that existed, like the doors, dropper or dispensers, I guess, that would, drop the items, and then I think pistons was it.
Yeah, there really wasn't like a whole. I don't want to say there wasn't a whole ton, because like you could still do a lot with that, but I mean it was like at first glance you would see that and be like, oh, that's like nothing. Like it felt very half-baked sort of thing, but it still in essence was like a really interesting thing, because it's without even realizing it was teaching a visual form of the most basic form of programming, of very simple input output systems. And the things like the extenders and delaying the effects and any of the weird things that you could create with it. Like again, the cobblestone bridge builder was pretty cool, because you have the lava and water creating cobblestone, and then you have the pistons actually like pushing it out over time. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I mean, we played survival for a little bit. I don't think creative was in the game when we started.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think it was.
But
we even joined in the group of YouTubers making Minecraft Let's Plays. Although that may have been a few years later. I don't remember exactly when that was. Actually, I'm going to check real quick, because I think I still have them. They're just private, but I think I still have them on my channel.
Yeah, that was... I think we just did a full run of the survival game, but that was quite a whiles into the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was I think probably quite a few, like a year or two after it first came out.
But eventually we started dabbling in the creative aspect of the game. And I think what was the first map we made? Was it Adventure Map 1 or was it Kino?
I'm pretty sure the first... Oh man, that's tough actually. I want to say the first map was the adventure map because we had seen some other people making that and we were like, that's cool. But on the same token, we also watched a lot of Achievement Hunter at the time. And so we may have seen them getting like although I guess they didn't start doing like fan maps and stuff for quite a while. So yeah, it was probably the adventure map. By the way, I just found it. Our Minecraft Let's Play series was May 14th, 2013. So a year after it came out.
That feels like so much longer than a year.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was like, I'm pretty sure the Ender Dragon was in there and everything, and I don't remember if that was in the base game or not.
It was definitely not when Xbox was released.
Yeah, because yeah, like Endermen weren't even in the game at that point. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we started, like we said, we started making adventure maps, which
it's for anyone who doesn't know what an adventure map is. It's essentially we're creating a game within the game. So you sort of set up that it's like, okay, the player or players need to go through these certain things. They need to go here and kill these enemies and pick up these items and give them to someone else. And I mean, you're essentially making your own adventure game within Minecraft. And it's, you know, the adventure map because you have everyone kind of start from scratch and you give them their like starter materials and then you give them directions and sort of let them find out some other stuff along the way. And eventually they get to the end of your adventure map where there's some sort of payoff. I don't even remember what the payoff was in our first map, other than I think it was like the entire world blew up or something.
No, that sounds like us.
Something we would do. Yeah, so that was, I think we had, I imagine that was something that you had brought up, Joe, that people were making adventure maps. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then we both decided, hey, why don't we try and do that? And
I think we succeeded.
Yeah. So an important thing to keep in mind is that the Xbox 360 version, again, even, you know, when we started making the adventure map, it was probably like 2014, maybe even 2015, but I don't think that late. I think it was 2014. And like at that point, there still wasn't a whole lot of Redstone stuff. There was more. I think there was like certain what's the little like funnel thing where
hoppers.
Yeah, hoppers. I seem hoppers were definitely in for the second adventure map. I'm pretty sure they were in for Kino. I don't know if they were in for the first adventure map.
I think they were added during the development.
Yeah,
so long to
yeah
to make our game.
Yeah, the first map ended up taking a really, really long time to make. It was like I think a little over a year. But like it's funny because an adventure map truly is like you're making your own game. And the fact that it took us over a year is, you know, and we worked on it a lot. We played it and set it up a lot. Like that's not a crazy thing. If the map took us like a month to make, that would be an issue because that would mean, oh yeah, you would play it and get done with it in like 15 minutes. The fact that we ended up taking over a year to make it means it was actually a substantial thing. But I remember around the time you had started watching a lot of other Minecraft YouTubers, in particular, a lot of the Redstone Minecraft YouTubers. And so you were usually leading the wiring portion and the computer portion of our maps.
Yeah, I knew that Redstone could help us in making the maps, and I wanted to know how to add more features. So I would go like watch like a few hours of Redstone tutorials every once in a while, and from that I discovered a lot of YouTubers. Like I think most people who have dabbled in Minecraft know of Seth Bling. He was probably like the king of Redstone at the time, and I think he still has a legendary persona among the Minecraft community.
Yeah.
He created like every week he'd be like, "Hey guys, I made a working toilet in Minecraft. Hey guys, I made a camera in Minecraft. Hey guys, it'd be like, oh, that's really cool, but
Yeah.
like, why'd you spend so much time doing it?"
It's Seth Bling is a really, really impressive guy, because he's also popular nowadays for his essentially programming while playing was this Super Mario World?
Super Mario World, yeah.
His credits warp. You skip make like the speed run like 50 seconds or something. Like it's crazy.
Like every once in a while I see a live stream of his. It's like, it's just like, hey guys, we're beating the game in 20 seconds again. Like, I remember when 8 minutes was like a really good time for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, the guy is an absolute genius with any sort of like code things. But we already knew that back early on when he was making like all the redstone creations in Minecraft. I mean, it's just how the guy does it is beyond me. There were also lots of other good Minecraft YouTubers.
Yeah. I put in the notes, Kurt J-Mac was probably my favorite YouTuber for many years, and is still one of my favorite YouTubers today. He runs a YouTube channel called Farlands or Bust, and he plays the beta version of the game still, like 13 years later, because his goal is to make it to the Farlands, which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a mythical land where the world generation doesn't work anymore, like 12 million blocks from spawn. And so he's been walking for the last like 9 years. And people might be like, it gets pretty boring, but every episode is fun to watch because it's like basically just he does a podcast while playing Minecraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta watch. I gotta check out some of his stuff sometime, because that does sound like that would be just a fun, very relaxing thing to watch. Just like this guy just journeying for hours on end every single day.
Yeah, and I mean he's pretty relatable. I think he has our kind of humor.
Oh really?
Like every like 30th sentence is a quote from The Simpsons.
Nice. That's my kind of guy. Nice. I think one of the biggest Minecraft YouTubers that we watched at the time, and I'll state this too, well, I guess I can't speak for you, I don't know 100% sure, but I know for me, I didn't watch PewDiePie. I know he was a big Minecraft, as well as a lot of other things. He was a big Minecraft YouTuber, but the thing where I got the majority of my Minecraft content was from Achievement Hunter, which for anyone who doesn't know what Achievement Hunter is, I think they're even called Let's Play now. They were an offshoot of Rooster Teeth, which is, you know, Rooster Teeth is in its own sets of hot water right now, but at the time we loved it. And I mean, it was, you know, they would do like GTA 5 on Thursdays and Minecraft on Fridays, and or GTA 4, and then it went to GTA 5. And I mean, you'd have like, I think Rage Quit was on Wednesdays, and like all of these things. But we would watch a lot of their videos, and like their Minecraft stuff started out kind of basic, and then they started doing like special events, and like, you know, build all these crazy things, or like, you know, they always had the Tower of Pimps, and then they had like they had all this lore. Edgar was a recurring character. Yeah.
Edgar's a cow, for anyone who doesn't know. I still remember there was Monopoly and stuff. I don't know.
They did like a Monopoly thing. I still remember one of the biggest events was when they planted like a bunch of TNT under Achievement Town, or whatever it was called, and blew it all up. They had some gigantic thing that they built, some like really big structure, and I mean, just like all sorts of stuff. And then there were also other times where they got super lazy and did like creeper soccer, but they didn't make it out of non-destructible stuff. And so the video was like an hour and a half long, and only about 10 minutes of it was them actually playing creeper soccer. The rest of it was them, everything falling apart and them being like, oh, I can't believe this has happened, and like trying to recover. And you know, I suppose that's when they have so much stuff they need to make every week. I suppose it's to be expected that a lot of it is going to end up being pretty crappy.
But we watched the first probably 1,000 episodes willingly.
yeah it's, I imagine, because I'm pretty sure we, like, they're still doing it, I think, to this day, but I'm pretty sure we ended up watching like at least the first like 200, like 150 200 episodes.
So we watched for 3 years, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but like we were, and that was truly like, it was like, okay, it's Friday, it's time to watch this, you know, super exciting stuff. But not anymore. I don't really have anyone that I like wait for their uploads. I just kind of like, oh, they uploaded, cool. I
wait for your uploads.
Oh, thank you, man. You're gonna be waiting a long while. Yeah, no, I actually, as an aside, and this is, I guess, kind of dating this podcast, but I do have my Super Monkey Ball video like mid-editing. Once things, I've been pretty busy with a lot of school stuff, but once that calms down, I can get back to editing that, and then I'm going to want to edit my Dark Souls Fists Only runs, because that sort of crap does really well on YouTube. But
tell me about it.
So one of the big things that had come from us watching Achievement Hunter, now, again, we had made our we had been working on our adventure map, and I'm pretty sure we ended up, like, one of the reasons why it took as long was because we actually did take a break to work on other things here and there, and then we would come back to it. I don't remember that for certain. That may be completely wrong, but I seem to remember that it was around this time that we started our Kino der Toten map.
I think it was in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. So Kino der Toten is from Call of Duty Black Ops 1 Zombies. Been remastered in like every Call of Duty Zombies since then. But it was, I mean, it was like the classic Call of Duty Zombies back when it was called Nazi Zombies. And it was a really, really, really fun map. I mean, it was like, it is like, I go back to it and I'm like, this map is like the pinnacle of map design.
Gaming in general.
Yeah, just gaming in general. I mean, it's so infinitely replayable. And we had been watching a lot of Achievement Hunter, and we started to notice a lot of their stuff that they were playing, a lot of their maps they were playing was actually made by other people. Like, I remember especially they had one where it was like everyone got their own orbs of like miniature worlds, and they had to build, had to be the first one to build the Tower of Pimps or something. And so it was like, it was interesting that they started to kind of take almost like fan maps. And Joe and I kind of sat down at one point and we were like, you know, a lot of those maps are pretty cool, but they're not that complex. We could do something like that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And so we sat down trying to come up with something. We were like, okay, so what's something, you know, we didn't want to have them do our adventure map because our adventure map started to become more and more complex and something that would take them way too long, especially because, you know, not even being like a comedic thing. A lot of the people at Achievement Hunter were pretty stupid. And so I don't think they would have been able to solve our maps. And that's not a, like, you know, our maps were just so cool, milady. It was more of a case of like, we had really complex things in there. A lot of the puzzles for our first map are like, I go back and think about it, I'm like, those weren't great puzzles because they were super redstone heavy. If you didn't have full understanding of how redstone worked, you could not play the map. Even just getting into the map required solving a redstone puzzle. And we realized, like, if we sent this to them, they would not get past the first room. So
there would be no video.
Yeah, there would be nothing. And so we ended up deciding we need to make something that is more accessible, something that they can just goof around in, and the rules will be very easy for them to notice. And around this time we were playing a lot of Call of Duty Zombies and we were very passionate about it. And so we were like, you know what? what about that? Because we also had wanted to try making a zombies map in there, because I think we had probably seen other people making like replicas of other maps in other games, and we were like, let's try something like that. And so it all kind of worked out really well. And so we went off to making our first it wasn't our first adventure map was already done, but this was our first like special like mini game map, essentially, was Kino der Toten, Call of Duty Zombies.
And it functions in a way.
Technically. Yeah, so the map itself, like visually, going through the map, it's even still to this day, I'm still really impressed by it. I mean, we made this map look like Kino der Toten. There's only one part where it doesn't look like it, and it's because we realized that we made some room a little bit too big, and so we had to take some sort of liberties with a hallway that kind of winds around. But like we like studied Kino der Toten. We would go into there and actually play it and like record it and review it and like take pictures of stuff, so that we could later on go through and put in more things into the map to actually create this sort of creation. And I mean, it's if you were to walk through there, the only big differences you would notice is, for one, the teleporter to Pack-a-Punches instead of Nether Portal, and we replaced the Nazi flags with like flags of our own creations, because we didn't want to just be placing, we didn't want to be placing those symbols just out in the open there for if Rooster Teeth ever comes in and plays, it's like, oh yeah, they're gonna want to like blur something like that out. They'll be upset when they see that. Regardless of the fact that that was in Kino der Toten, we were making a very authentic replica of Kino der Toten, it still would be in kind of bad taste. And so we were like, okay, we'll just make it our own special little pictures and everything.
Like flag thingies.
Yeah. And it's, I think one of them we even ended up making like a visual, like a thing that looks like the Nether Portal, and we were like an arrow to it and said PAP for Pack-a-Punch. Which, of course, now that I think about it, Achievement Hunter would probably make some very off-color jokes about seeing Pap on the wall.
Oh, definitely. What's the bucket method? It's the only thing I can think of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were building the map, there was like, if only these redstone features were in the game now, it would make it so much easier. And we literally like, they announced that it's going to be in the next update, but that'll be in like 3 months. So we just waited. And I mean, we worked on the map a bit, but we sort of updated it after the update came out.
Yeah, we made like the framework for the map. We made the model. I mean, essentially, if you think about this in like a game design scenario, we made the model and the map, and we placed in the textures and everything, but then the actual like code behind how any of the systems work, we didn't put that in yet because we were waiting for that sort of update. And it is very sad, because if we were able to make this on PC, I mean, we could have made it like a real good, real authentic experience. Granted, I don't remember if at this time command blocks were like a big thing, or like they had the functionality to spawn zombies at very specific locations. But like at this point, it would be very easy to go in on PC and create a very good, as long as you had the model, it would be very easy to create a good authentic replica. But the wiring that we ended up making for this was fascinating. It's one of the reasons why I do really want to someday be able to actually find a way to go in and like record us traveling through all of the maps and like show, okay, this was kind of how these things worked. Because so do you want to explain the zombie spawn loop?
All right. So, obviously we had to spawn enemies to fight. And in Minecraft, there's a feature where if you put a spawn egg of a mob in a dispenser.
Yeah, I think dispenser is what they're called.
When you send power to the dispenser using redstone wire, it will, instead of dropping the egg as an item, it will actually spawn the mob in, and it'll like be a fully functioning mob. So like, put a zombie spawn egg in a dispenser, it'll dispense the zombie into the world, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we have those around the map in like essentially going for the same areas where the zombies actually spawn in Kino, in the actual Black Ops Zombies game. And every time you open a door to a new area, it will cause the dispensers in that area to also be allowed to receive power.
Yeah, I think we had like a piston that pulled away a block that was blocking the wiring or something.
So when you push the button to start the game, like essentially we're just like, yeah, you go to the spawn room and just push a button.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I think we ended up making it that your money, because we wanted it to be that you actually had to open up doors, and so our money was rotten flesh, but it was like we didn't have a way of making it really. I think it was always just you tossed in one rotten flesh and that would open up the door.
Yeah.
And it was like these super like really difficult to get to little puddles that were like kind of right next to the door and under it.
Yeah. Not the best thought out, but it was functional. And
yeah,
I'm still pretty proud of how it ended up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the important thing, is that at this point there really wasn't any better way to do what we did. So we made do, and like the way that we had this working, considering all that was available at that time, I would say was really, really impressive. The other option would have been just like one of us sitting in a room just pushing a button like every 30 seconds.
Like, do it.
Yeah. But we had all of the zombies spawning from one central location. So all zombies in the map would spawn at the exact same moment, but we didn't want them to just keep spawning over and over, like, just like every second there's just a new zombie, because that wouldn't be appropriate with how zombies normally plays. So we created a loop, a really big loop. Repeaters would extend, they would delay the signal. So you put down a repeater and put wiring into it, redstone wiring into it, and that would delay it by 0.1 seconds, and you could extend that to be 0.2, 0.3, or 0.4 seconds. So 5 repeaters in a row extended to full length would be 2 seconds. We wanted to make it that the zombie spawned, I think, every like maybe 45 seconds or 60 seconds. And so we had this massive loop that went out like 100 blocks in a square.
Off into the distance.
Yeah, way off into the distance.
That's where it normally loads the game. Like.
Yeah. And so you would push the button and it would activate this loop and just start going along there and go for a super long time. And then it would cut over and then go back and cut over. And when it got back, that was when it would send the signal out and be like, okay, spawn the zombies. And that would have its own set of like I think we ended up even needing to add extra repeaters throughout each of those spawns, because we wanted to make it that all zombies spawn at the exact same time. So we had to count the amount of repeaters used for every spawn to make sure that we delayed them appropriately, which was crazy to me. That was so much work. And like looking at the outside of the map, it was a nightmare seeing all of the code, all the wiring, just like a giant Eldritch abomination covering the map of just cobblestone and red wiring. Like,
yeah,
it was.
If anyone has ever like heard of developing code and you say that your code base is spaghetti, like doing redstone kind of like willy-nilly is the.
It's spaghetti for sure. It was like, it was interesting to me because it's like, I think one of the biggest reasons why it was so spaghetti and everything was, for one, we kind of added in a little bit of functionality after we were starting to add in the main stuff, and so we kind of wanted to like we kept adding more stuff to it, so the base level was kind of fine, but then when we added more stuff, it was like, okay, well now we need to kind of worm that in there, like other functionality, like the mystery box. And I think it also probably was just, we just weren't prepared for how much wiring it was going to be, and so we were figuring, oh, this will be fine. And then as it went on, we were like, oh, this is bad.
Not good.
But we also, like I had just mentioned, we also had like a mystery box, which was just a chest on rails, and we had it like you had to pay money to stop it at a certain point. So you had to drop a zombie flesh into a little puddle, and that would cause that part of the track to stop. And so when the minecart would come back, it would stop there for like 30 seconds or something, and so then you could buy from there, and otherwise it would just be traveling around. And like buy from there means just pick up whatever you want from there. And we were saying, you know, only pick up one thing, but no one's just gonna only pick up one thing.
You know, I honestly forgot how that worked.
Yeah, it was because it was like we really wanted to do something crazy, and you know, it's like now that I think about it, we could have very easily just made it that it was like a chest and then like a block would come up. Although I think, if I remember correctly, we couldn't do that as easily because there was the issue of you would be able to open up the chest if there was a block above it, and we didn't know how to set it up. I think, I don't remember if what the solution to that was. Like maybe if it was like you set like stairs at a weird angle or something, you could open the chest.
Yeah.
So we never figured that out, or that wasn't a functionality in the game yet or something. But yeah, so it was pretty silly. And then we also like, I remember one of the biggest exciting points was the curtain, because in Kino der Toten, when you turn on the power, there's a curtain that opens up, and it opens up like the whole rest of the map. And obviously there's no curtain in Minecraft, so what we did was create a wall of sand, and when you press the button, it opens up the floor so all the sand falls down. The problem is, well, two problems. For one, we ended up adding in code. So we had like, we wanted the sand to like land down so that you would just be able to walk directly through, so that you didn't have to like jump over or like worry about a big pit or something. And so we had the sand fall down onto some platforms that were below the map but still floating in the air. Problem was, we ended up adding in more code that kind of had to fit under there, and so then it was like, okay, so now this sand has to fall down onto that, but now you have one part of the curtain that's just like still like 5 blocks high. And so we needed to get rid of some of the sand there, but then now the curtain looked weird because it was like a straight line, and then it was like a big like column where there was like nothing there. And like so we had
just works.
Yeah, it just works. And the other big problem was that having like, you know, 100 sand all falling down at once really lags the game.
Which was already a problem because too many zombies would spawn often.
Yeah, you had so many zombies spawning, you had all this redstone running, the game was going, it was chugging. I mean, we were we were murdering this poor game with all of this code that we had added. But I think one of the funniest things to me was our Pack-a-Punch machine.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out what to do with the Pack-a-Punch machine, because the Pack-a-Punch machine uses a teleporter. And in Kino der Toten, it teleports you up to the separate room where there's no zombies, and then it teleports you out back into the main room. And we were like, how in the world are we going to do that? Because this was before command blocks, so we couldn't forcefully teleport the player to a different location. The only way you could teleport a player, the Xbox version, was through the Nether portal. And so we ended up needing to create a Nether portal that the players walk into, and it takes them to a new location. Now, here's where the difficult part came in. How do you get them to not stay in there?
Because they're just going to avoid all the zombies in there.
Yeah, we can't make zombies spawn in that room, partially because that was in the Nether, so that would have been its own separate set of code. But two, like, it wouldn't make sense to spawn zombies in there because that wouldn't fit with the actual map design.
And our choice, I think, also didn't do very well.
Yeah, it didn't exactly work the best, and it definitely didn't exactly represent the best of how zombies was supposed to work. So we created, I think we actually did like a bunch of different things, and we ended up eventually just resulting with everywhere in the room is just a bunch of pressure plates. And so
standing on the floor sends a redstone signal to a contraption, and that contraption says, hey, have the players been here for 30 seconds? Let's just start shooting arrows at them.
And so as long as the players were in there for more than 30 seconds, it was just arrows just firing like crazy. And so it was really funny, but it really didn't work very well. It got them to get out of there, but the problem is, it was either get out of there in 30 seconds or you would die, and there was no way to know. But like we had like an enchanting table in there so you could enchant your weapon. But it was really comical, but it was the best way that we could come up with doing this. There were, I'm sure, better ways. I think we had wanted to do like, there was a lava timer where it was like when you got in, lava would start falling. But the problem with that was that sometimes the lava wouldn't go away, and if it would take like 4 minutes. So so yeah, the arrows was our best option, and it wasn't a great option. But it was pretty funny when you're like, okay, I'm enchanting. Oh, there's arrows! Ah! Just start getting blasted.
Yes, I'll die.
Yeah, all right. So that was our map, and again, not perfect, very filled with a whole lot of flaws, but like, still, the redstone was so complex. Also, we placed a whole lot of stuff on the outside of the map. We made like all sorts of Rooster Teeth references because we were like, oh, they're gonna play our map. I'm sure they'd love to see us just writing their quotes on a wall.
Notice me, send.
Yeah, please. We had a room where it was the Tower of Pimps, but once you got in, you couldn't get out. Like, we set it up so that you couldn't actually leave, and we had signs above the doors that just said no way in, no way out. Except there was a way in, but still. And there was like a pool of lava for you to jump in once you realized you were trapped. Like hidden rooms that we were like, oh, they're gonna discover this room, and like, no, they won't. They weren't smart enough to discover any of those rooms. It was like the simple like, oh, put a painting over a wall but leave an opening in that wall, so they have to realize that if they walk into the painting they can go in. So just not great, but we loved it, and we were sure someday they were gonna play this, but we never got up the guts to actually send it to them.
10 million downloads.
Yes, that's right. The most popular map that's ever been made. And it is funny because like we had even set up like our dev kit so that it was like, oh, while the map is playing, we'll be flying around and like observing and fixing code whenever it needs fixing and everything. But like it I don't know, it was just very silly. We worked hard on it. It never saw the light of day. Someday it will. Someday, like I said, I really want to do a sort of Joe and I going through our maps that we made and like showcase these things. But that's someday.
3-hour developer commentary.
Yes. Yeah, I like this idea. I really that would be really fun though, to kind of go through and just talk about everything. Maybe even like what I could do someday is try and find out a good way to record the actual, like, just record going through the map and playing through everything, and then we could like play it on stream with you and I doing commentary and kind of talking about exactly what everything was, and like pause the video when there's certain parts that are important. So someday in the future we should try that.
It'll definitely, that'll probably definitely be my favorite one.
Yes. And so it was around this time that Joe, like, we still made more maps and we'll get into those in a moment, but it was around this time that Joe and I sort of started to realize we both had very particular strengths and weaknesses when it came to designing these maps, and especially became noticed in our second adventure map, but we noticed it throughout all of this stuff. the main differences, the main like things were like I loved the creating part. I loved creating the map, like designing the map. I loved like trying to figure out, okay, what do we want to happen here, especially in the adventure maps, like what's the story here, what sort of encounter do we want to be here, like what puzzles. But when it came to actually executing those things, I had no knowledge, no way to figure it out at all. Joe, on the other hand, knew all of the computer stuff, all of the programming stuff, and he was the one that carried all of those maps so much.
Well, we would build a room, and we'd be like, okay, what encounter should be here? What puzzle or whatnot? And I would always be like, just shoot TNT at the player. But Alex was a little more nuanced in his ideas, but when the idea came to fruition, I was like, okay, I can do that. I'll build that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like we ended up doing, for every single map, we ended up making like redstone puzzles, and we got more creative with these things over time. And that was like those redstone puzzles were like Joe and my, like, that was our fusion, where it was like we combined my like game design prowess and his computer prowess, and we put them together into one really cool thing. Like, one of my favorites, and again, this is from Adventure Map 2, which we'll get into in a moment, but like one of my favorite things that we designed was the redstone boss battle, where you like go in with a party and you like fight off zombies while you're solving a redstone puzzle, and it causes the generator, which spawning the zombies, to explode. And the generator itself was just for visuals. There wasn't actually anything that it was doing, but when that exploded, we would stop the zombies spawning and everything. And so it really combined like designing this encounter with like this boss fight with all these enemies spawning, but also using all of this coding to sort of figure out how to add a real puzzle to it, other than just being, okay, just survive in here for a while. But that is again something that we'll get into at the end. That's kind of what I mean by how it changed our life, because that set both of us into this direction that we're going. Where right now I'm in college for game design. I am doing programming, like I'm learning programming stuff, but I'm like primarily learning game design and development, doing stuff with Unreal Engine, learning all these different languages at a pretty basic level, and learning like modeling and animation and everything, while Joe's doing computer science, and he's learning like every language there is to know. He's learning how to hack into computers, or how to hack programs.
Every language,
yeah. Every single one. But like he's learning all of the important languages and everything.
Yeah, and then, well, in my spare time, I come on this podcast and learn about game design. Yeah,
it's a nice mutual relationship we got going here. We kind of teach each other about different game things. And so it is like we really have complementary styles. Like whenever it came to designing any of these maps, Joe and I would be able to do really well in them, because one of us was coming up with the ideas and the story and the visuals and everything, and the other person was actually making all of that happen, was going in and saying, okay, this is how you code this is how you actually create all these weird things. And like there was barely any time where we would come up with an idea and be like, we can't do that. Like we always figured out a way to do it, whether it was a very hacky way to do it, we would still find a way to actually get it to work.
And oh boy, are some of those hacky ways.
Yes. So we ended up finishing our Adventure Map 2 our Adventure Map 1 at some point in like 2015. And we actually had like a little bit of a story. Now at this point, Joe and I were like in peak inside joke territory. So I mean, we had things like talking about the Wonder Waffle, the Wonder Waffe, the Wunderwaffe, and then it just became, we just would call it the V. We had inside jokes that were like related to videos that we played. But for whatever reason, we had a huge fascination and obsession with Randy Newman.
Who, if anyone doesn't know, that's the guy who sang "You've Got a Friend in Me" from Toy Story. You got a friend in me.
And he I don't remember what the song was, but there was the one that you always would quote to me, and so then I started quoting it all the time, was the "It's a jungle out there." Was that Monk, I think?
Yeah, it was the theme song from Monk.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's Randy Newman is a very funny guy, and he's got like all sorts of songs that all sound the same. But for whatever reason, at some point, we started calling all the villagers Randy. They all became Randys. You know, a lot of people would call the villagers Squidward because they had the long nose and they would go, her. But we called them Randys, and that became the lore for our map, was that it was like New Randy, no, I think in the first map it was Randonia. And in the second map it was New Randy City. One of those two. And we actually came up with the story for our first, sorry, go on.
Saying that out loud, like, that's on the internet now. Like, are we okay?
We were very messed up at this time. Yeah, it is funny because it's like when you go back and talk about it, it's like, wow, this is very weird and kind of dumb. But like, I think the thing that helped the most was that we actually, like, we committed to it. We didn't like we every time you saw a villager, they would be like, there was one of them that was like, you would save him and you'd be like, hey, thanks for saving me, you've got a friend in me, be careful out there, it's a jungle out there. like all these just quotes from Randy Newman. But we actually built a story around this where it was like a mining city, and you had to figure out, there were like Randys disappearing, and so you had to go rescue them. And so you would go, it was very linear. It was just, okay, you go through the mines and you find a secret place. You go through there, you do some puzzles, that leads you to the next area, and like you keep going around until you eventually find like the main city, where we actually had like all of these like different like skyscrapers and buildings you could go in, and like Easter eggs. I remember we had like the graveyard where we had so we had all sorts of a lot of our inside jokes were there. There was like, I mean, there was like, our minds after making this map was one of the headstones. And we had Lydia, who died of chlamydia, although I think that actually may have been the fake one that we ended up using in the second adventure map. I don't remember.
This is getting too meta for me.
Yeah, it's getting very confusing. But we also, one of my favorites was at the very back left area of the graveyard was John F. Kennedy. So,
God. I think we're horrible people.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we also, this was around this was like, 2014, 2015. So it was like peak, like, internet was like rage face, this is Sparta, all of these things.
Peak edgelord.
Yeah, peak edgelord. And so I'm pretty sure we had some Chuck Norris references here and there.
Of course we did. Even though they were completely stale, even at the time.
Yeah, at the time they were not very interesting, but we were ahead of the time, and by that I mean way behind. No, we were ahead of the time, because nowadays what's old is new, and people do rage face memes unironically. Unironically. It like you said, this is getting too meta. And we had like the end of the map was like, you just like you survive for like 5 minutes against just a bunch of zombies and skeletons and like I think blazes and everything, like all sorts of enemies. And then eventually everything just blows. Like I think like an exit opens up, and so you go through that exit, and then you press a button and you look up and you see the entire city blow up. We had just had TNT everywhere.
We saved the city.
Yeah. Well, and one of the funny things is like we had to be so careful for the wiring of that, because under the map was just all this TNT. And so if we accidentally placed some active wiring to connect to the TNT, everything was for naught. We had to start over like at that whole part. So I don't remember if we ever accidentally did that, or if we did, I mean, we could just exit the map without saving. It just meant whatever else we did in that session was gone. But
I feel like we did a few times, and so we would just like wait until like we'd be like, okay, we're going to do everything else save and then put the TNT in.
Yeah, probably. It was, yeah, it was interesting, but I mean, it was like a very stupid way to end the map, but we didn't know how we wanted to end it, because we kind of had like, we kind of set ourselves up to, it's like, okay, like at this point we're just doing the same thing over and over again, so how do we end it? Let's just blow it all up. You know, it was a very like Monty Python ending. So, but we finished that map and we were very proud of it, and we were like, okay, this is our magnum opus, and it definitely wasn't. But at the time, we were convinced that was like our big thing. And so we set that, we finished that and we played it a bit, and we were like, okay, this is pretty neat. Essentially the map itself was like you were just going through doing puzzles and saving Randys, and what you were really doing was killing them. Like you would press a switch and they would just fall into lava and die. And then it was like at the very end, like you rescue the king, and the button that you use to free him is also what blows up the city. And so that was like the whole joke was like, oh yeah, you're actually saving them, but you know, you're not really saving them.
You're a psychopathic murderer.
Yeah. And the funny thing is we actually did play on that in Adventure Map 2, which was like, you know, Adventure Map 1 was like, I'm proud of the work that we did. I'm proud of how much stuff we did. But Adventure Map 2, I am like legitimately, I think that was like really, really good.
People should play it when it comes out.
Yes, when we do the official release on Steam and Epic Game Store, and make our Switch port to this, everyone should play it. I do think it would be fun to, if we ever make like the first game that you and I make together, we should set, as long as we can get a good engine, we should make a version of that in like Unity or Unreal. And that'll be our first map. But it's like, it is a really, really impressive map. So we had made our Adventure Map 1, and like a year later there were more updates that came out, and Joe and I had been playing, like this was 2015, so Destiny came out, so we were playing that a lot. That took a lot of our time. Eventually we got to the point where it was like, okay, Destiny is kind of like whatever, not really interested in playing this. You know, let's make an adventure map. And so we kind of sat down again to be like, okay, what do we want to make for this map? Because we gotta top what we made before. We can't just do the exact same thing.
Impossible task, I know, but we will try.
That's right. Yeah, it was, we did the impossible. We we beat the map where we just blew up the city at the end. I can't believe it. But we sat down and looked at our previous map, and we thought about, okay, what do we want to do? Well, one big thing is we did a lot of redstone puzzles, and that was like everything was either a redstone puzzle or just fight against a billion enemies for like 5 minutes. And that's kind of cool if you actually have something else going on, but there wasn't anything else going on. There was barely any story. And so...
And the playtesting with our friends who don't do redstone every single day.
Yeah. It was not...
We had to do...
Yeah, they played it, and we had to guide them through everything. And it wasn't even that it was like they didn't know how to do it. It was they just didn't want to do it because they didn't find it very fun. And at the time I was very upset about that, but looking back at it, obviously I'm like, no, they were right. That is not fun. So we had a few goals. For one, we wanted to make a much more substantial map. We didn't want it to be just go from A to B to C to D to E to F. You just keep going through and doing these, you know, little puzzles. And for two, we didn't want it to be all redstone stuff. We wanted to feature redstone because we really enjoyed making those puzzles, but we wanted to have some other things going on, like other experiences for you to have to do. And so we came up with an open world adventure map. And I mean, this map is pretty cool.
I would play it.
Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. We had an open world, like a hub world, that had different events that happened based off of the time of day. We had like areas that were walled off that you unlocked later as you progressed through the game. We had classes, which these classes, it was like melee, ranged, magic, and I think rogue. And all of these classes had their own special like equipment that you got as you went through the game, like upgrades. Your levels that you had, like from, because this was around this time they had introduced experience into the game, and you used those to do enchanting. Those levels were now used, like actually used in the game. You actually would use those and level up, and you could like enchant stuff with them. And like the game itself was set up specifically in a way that you would go in and like make some progress, and then you get like 2 hours of progress, and then you could like quit for the day and come back the next day and like continue with the open world experience. And I mean, it was a really big, really impressive task that I think we actually did really well.
I mean, yeah, like we replayed it quite a while ago at this point.
Yeah, probably like 2 years ago, I think.
But like after having taken a hiatus from seeing it for so long, I was like, I mean, we did 2 thumbs up from me on this review of a thing I helped create.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that it's like there were a lot of little puzzles, like very, very obscure Easter eggs that we couldn't exactly remember how you accessed, but part of it was because we weren't fully completing everything as we were going through. We were just like mostly completing stuff, and then just kind of like, we were like, okay, I know how this works, so let's continue on. And so there were certain like check marks that we made throughout the game that were like, once this and this happens, then you activate that. And so if we didn't hit those check marks, then it would kind of like, it made sense why certain things didn't work. But like, yeah, when we replayed it, we realized this was really cool. Like we had, I remember each class had its own like legendary weapon. And like, I'm pretty sure for the ranger, they had one where you had to, somehow you had to unlock a special spider's den, and you went in, and it after you were fighting, you realized you were actually inside of like a giant spider, and you had to survive against a bunch of waves while the door closed. And if you survived, you got a special spider eye that you gave to a guy hiding behind the waterfall, and then he would give you, as well as like special arrows, and then he would give you the legendary bow, which was like you don't replace this for the rest of the game. It was really, really good. And it was super, super cool. And we had special like legendary weapons for all classes that you had to kind of unlock.
So there was like basically an exotic quest that you go on.
Yeah.
For every like. How do you discover that? I don't know, because
yeah, it was like there were like little hints here and there. Like you would go into under the waterfall, and like there would be a guy there, and he would be like, "Oh, I can't do anything for you unless you have the legendary Eye of the Great Spider and poison arrows." And it was like you had no idea how to get those, but you at least knew that you were looking for them. So like we had to put a few more little stepping stones to kind of lead you towards it, but the like start of the quest was there. It was very much set up like classic World of Warcraft quest, where you get the quest, you have to kind of read the description and then just figure out for yourself from there, like from context clues. A bit more obscure in our case though, because we didn't have quest descriptions, we just had like a little bit of dialogue.
There was just a sign there to read.
Yeah. And yeah, that was the other thing too, is that all of the dialogue was just on signs, because we couldn't like print to screen or something, and so we had to just write all of the dialogue on the screens. There was also like I remember like for the redstone puzzles, we had specific rules about how you're supposed to solve them. So like you could only place redstone on certain blocks. Other blocks did not want to have any power. Some blocks did want to have power. Some blocks, like when you powered one, it would get the other one to be powered, so then you could go from there, and all sorts of like interesting stuff. And the redstone puzzles were really complex and really cool. I still remember there's the Trial of the Ancients or whatever, where you go in and you do, it's like 4 simple puzzles. Like there was one where you have to lead a pig through a maze. There was another one which was like a platforming puzzle, but then when you do all 4 of those, then you go down into this pit, and it's like, now you get the true trial of the elements, and it's just this massive like 100 by 100 room with just redstone and confusing things everywhere, and like vertical areas with redstone, and like, you know, takes 30 minutes to solve because it was so complex. But really cool stuff. And like we had like there was a boss battle at the end where you fought the Wither, and like there were also other like special boss battles where like it was we had one where it was this giant bridge in a volcano, and there was like a special island that you could sneak up to, and there were like Easter eggs hidden in there. And there was another island that Joe and I tried to figure out how we do the Easter egg on it, and we couldn't remember, but you get like a special chicken nugget from it or something. It was like a gold nugget that we called the chicken nugget, and it had like massive knockback on it, so you would just be able to use it to knock back things. But like you had to like give the paper cut, which was like just a piece of paper with a special name, and I don't remember how you got the paper cut. So like really deep layered into like deep layered things that I just don't remember how we did them, but it was cool. It was really, really cool. But one of my favorite things about that map, and this is, I guess this is kind of like a selfish thing saying it's one of my favorite things, because it was something that I like very much spearheaded. But I know that like you were very important for getting the actual wiring of how we get any of this stuff to work. But there were secret lore hidden in the game. Like you got lore every chapter of the game, but there was secret lore when you did the Easter eggs in books. And these books, I wrote all of them, and they had like multiple pages of the lore of New Randy City, and like stories of like you know, like an uprising against King Randy IV, and like all of this kind of crazy stuff. And like eventually, if you get there were 6 hidden books throughout the game, and if you got all 6 of them and placed them into a location, like a secret location, it would open up a special secret ending. I think you also had to do something else, but it would open up a special secret ending to the end of the game, which would give you the true ending, where you find out your characters from Adventure Map 1 were actually mercenaries sent by some rival mining company that came to kill all of the Randonians. And so you're actually the child of those mercenaries, and you've like come to finish the job or something. Really complex stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was. But it was,
I think it was like to make it right.
Yeah.
Helping the Randys this time. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I think it was like 2 separate endings where it was like you could save or kill King Randy. And so if you saved him, then it would be like you were actually there to save the town and to sort of right the wrongs of your parents. But like then when you killed him, you got like the other ending where it's like you were there to finish the job. I mean, it was so fun to write. Like I had a blast writing that, and I loved that we were able to include this secret lore into the game. It actually made it like more than just a standard adventure map. But like,
and I also, while like making this map, my favorite, I mean, obviously I was more focused on implementing like the mechanics, and my favorite memory out of any memory from Minecraft was when I sat down and invented off the top of my head a new mechanism to do some very specific like niche thing with redstone, that I was like, okay, I need these things that have already been activated to activate once more, and these things that have never been touched to stay as they are. And it was like, you know, it was seeing my knowledge like being put into practice like that. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it was very like, I remember when you did that, and I was like, how in the world did you come up with this? And you're like, I don't know. I just did. Yeah, it was we implemented, and like the other cool thing about this adventure map was that this was when we were like getting a bit more professional about it. And so we actually like we worked really hard on this map, and we made it like all of the code that we put in, all of the redstone that we put in was set like efficiently and smartly. And we like really knew what we were doing. Joe had taught me a lot of redstone stuff by this point, so I was actually able to really help him with a lot of it. He obviously did the way more complex stuff, any of the actual difficult parts, but I was able to kind of do some of the other stuff. And it was kind of, Joe was essentially teaching me programming while we were playing Minecraft. And I was like kind of realizing, oh, okay, that, you know, like the all the different like very simple contraptions. Like if you made sort of a square, and then at each end of the square, like the flat end of the square, you would have like one block and then a torch, like a redstone torch, and then a block and a redstone torch on the other side. And you would have like the redstone would basically connect to the back of those blocks. And so it would either be active or inactive. It was essentially making a switch, but without someone having to manually activate it. So that's like, you know, looking back at it, that's pretty much one of the most simple redstone creations you can make. But at the time I was like so dumbfounded by that something like that existed, and Joe had taught me that, and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, the NOR latches.
Yeah. And so this was,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was a cool map.
yeah, I mean, obviously our like going forward, these things that I learned, these things that you learned making that map very much influenced where we're going.
Yes.
Like I would, you know, I learned redstone for like I studied it for many years. I have a degree in it, you know. And now I'm actually trying to get a degree in computer science. And the time that I realized, like, yeah, that computer science is what I want to do. Like I took my first like intro to logic class, and like the first like 2/3 of the class, I'm like, I have literally already studied this doing redstone.
Nice.
It's like these, like, you know, like simple logic things. Like there's something called De Morgan's rule, which says that not A or not B is not A and B. And I'm like, obviously, because
yeah,
when you build an AND gate in Minecraft, that's the same thing as not.
Yeah. Well, that was like when I took discrete math back at my previous college, it was the same thing, because that class was primarily focused on mathematical logic, and that was also a lot of the like not A, not B equals not A and B. That was like a lot of the union or intersection sort of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is stuff that we learned from Minecraft. This is cool.
It was really fun.
Yeah. And we also did other... Oh, sorry, go on what you were saying.
I mean, and now that I'm in my 6th year of undergrad, I think I could, I mean, I'm fairly confident I could sit down and build a computer in Minecraft.
Nice.
At least from a diagram, you know. Like,
yeah.
I might need to look up how an adder works, but I think I could get one working in a few months.
that's a big part of computer programming just in general, is like there's only so much stuff that you can know off the top of your head. There's still a lot of looking up, but knowing what to look up and knowing like the general idea of how you want the stuff to work is stuff that it takes quite a while to learn and to become sort of ingrained into you. So and it is kind of like the same thing for me, where it's like these maps, and especially Adventure Map 2, but really all of them, including the last one, which we'll get into in a moment, we worked on these a lot, and like the designing part was something I enjoyed so much. And it very much, like Joe was saying, how he's kind of like, now he's getting a degree in computer science. You know, now I'm getting a degree in game design, and that's all that these maps were were game design. Like in terms of, I should say, from my contribution to these maps, my entire contribution was game design, and I would come up with the ideas for the areas that we were going and what sort of like boss fights were going to happen. That was all just stuff that I was kind of designing, and maybe I would write it down or something. That's what I enjoy doing the most. And so now, after I, after I failed my second actuary test, I passed the first one, but I failed the second one, and I just wasn't enjoying it like at all. I was like, you know what I really want to do is game design. And I got lots of encouragement from the people closest to me, and it has kind of let me go down the path I'm going now, which is at college for game design.
Do it. Woo.
Woo. And it is just crazy. I've talked about on stream and to a lot of people before. I have multiple games that I've been designing, including the one that I've designed the most, which is, I can't even quantify the amount of pages it is anymore, because I've split it into a bunch of like Google Sheets and other pages. But it's something that I've been working on for the last, I'd say, well, let's see.
Years.
Yes, since before I was born. No, but I started working on it in like 6th or 7th grade. So how many years ago was that? Did that be like 10, 12 years ago? Not maybe.
Yeah, about 10, 11.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago. It's been about 10 years that I've been working on this. And I've got one that I've done like a ton of work for, one that I've done a pretty good amount of work for, and then two other ones that I've done like some work for, like a week's worth of work for. Again, this is all like the theoretical design stuff, but my main one that I've been working on for 10 years, I have so much stuff for this. I mean, I think in total I have 40 to 50 documents on this. And some of them are like outdated stuff, but most of them are still current things. I have like all of the story. It's like an adventure game, like an RPG. You have classes. You have kind of an open world, but you have like characters that are in different races that do their own, like their race has their own quest line. It has lots of boss fights. It has like hidden lore that you kind of discover throughout the game. Really, really like deep themes, and also some like kind of dark themes. And like a lot of stuff that I'm really like proud of. But I think about like the Minecraft adventure maps, especially Adventure Map 2, is like the biggest inspiration to me for a lot of these things that I've come up with. Is I went through and we made something, and it actually ended up like working. It ended up being an actual completable, like playable product that actually could be done and was enjoyed. And like our friends that didn't like the first map actually did like the second map. They still weren't a huge fan of the redstone parts, but we put in enough of them that there weren't too many, and when it got to the really complex ones, we would help them a bit. But like it was so fun. I can't stress enough how enjoyable it was doing this, and it's one of the reasons why Joe and I are doing this podcast together, to talk about game design and game programming and just kind of geek out about games. But it's also one of the reasons that we are planning on at some point in the future going into business together and being independent game developers, and possibly building up, depending on how life goes, building up an actual game company. But doing game design and game development, like we've got ideas for a Terraria mod that we want to make at some point, and we have all sorts of crazy things that we want to make together.
Yeah, you'll hear about us in a few decades. We'll be called Bethesda 2
because the games we make are super buggy. No, no, I do think though, like the stuff that we've created, again, it's hard. I want to someday, I'll say this again because I've said it like 40 times and I probably sound like a broken record. I want to someday actually show these things that we've made on stream so that people can really see them. But they should be, and just hearing about them should be kind of like, should be evidence enough that like we are both very passionate about the game development process. And we have a lot of people, you'll see these people that go into business together and then they realize, oh, they don't work well together at all and they don't get anything accomplished. Joe and I have experience 4 separate maps that we made together that use pretty complex redstone stuff that go very deep into adventure and like gameplay things that we created together over many years, as perfect proof of like we have worked together and we can and do work together very well. So
that being said, Alex, I hate you.
Yes, I I was going to say I hate you too, but I hate me as well.
I hate me too.
So the last map that we ended up making, this one was like quite a few years later, and it wasn't as complex. It was just kind of a fun little thing that I had an idea for it, and I was like, Joe, do you want to do this? And you were like, okay. And so we made this together. It was a Mario Party map. And I mean, I am still very proud of this map because we did a lot of really cool stuff. It plays just like Mario Party, as well as playing Mario Party without any of the forced things works. So like we had all of these different spaces. You had your red space, your blue space, and your green space, and then your yellow space, which was the star space. On the red spaces, you would everyone had coins. You started off with like however much, and you would have to get rid of coins at red spaces, or you would get 3 coins at blue spaces. We set it up so that it was like you would actually get the amount. You would actually like get the amount like given to you instead of you having to manually take it. Because at this point we were so much better with redstone, we knew exactly how to make these sort of creations. And so, and like, then there were like the green spaces would be some special event. And so it would be like, oh, you landed on this space and like someone came by and like punched you in the face. You have to give up 10 coins.
Oh no.
Or like you can walk just directly across this bridge and it takes you closer to the star. Or if you go to it from the other side, it was, oh, you got to go back on this bridge back to the beginning. So very Mario Party-esque stuff. We did have like a little randomizer at the start where it was like you roll and it gives you a piece of paper that is like somewhere between 1 and 9. But then we also had like party games, and so it would be at the end of everyone's turn, then you would go over to the party sphere, and I mean it would be, I think we actually even had like a randomized thing to say if it was going to be 2v2 or 1v3 or 4-player, and I think we had something like, it'll be player 1 versus player 2, or player 1 and player 2 versus player 3 and player 4 or whatever. But we also had like another randomizer, which was for the actual chosen game, and it would be like you would choose like, okay, it's a 2v2, so now you go in and hit the randomizer for the 2v2s, and there were like 6 to 8 games of every type. And like I'm trying to remember what all of the games we had were. The ones I remember were like we had some trivia games. We had like Death Run, kind of like Gmod Death Run, where there was the 1 player that was like using traps against the 3 players. We had like some platforming games.
They're like a spleef. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had spleef in there. I wish I could remember. There was one kind of like Mario Party 4 Dungeon Duos where it was like the 2 players on each team needed to work together and solve like little puzzles. You could see each other through the window so that you could see what they were doing, and you needed to communicate and everything. They were really fun party games. I really liked them. But, I mean, it was like, it really was just like a little party game. Like it's something that you could go back and play for like an hour and be like, that was pretty fun. You probably wouldn't play it like forever. You wouldn't spend like 8 hours just playing it over and over again. It's not as fun as actual Mario Party, but it was kind of more of a proof of concept than anything. And we proved that the concept did work. So.
And I'm not trying to remember. I don't know if this was ironic or not, but I remember keep saying like, hey, what if we invite Rooster Teeth to play this instead?
Yeah.
And I think that was after we stopped watching them, so it was probably a joke the entire time.
It probably was, but I think if there ever was a map for them to play, that one probably would have been a good one. Like that one at least would be a lot more foolproof. But even still, yeah, I think at that point we had very much fallen off of watching Rooster Teeth. But that was, I mean, it was a fun one. to work on. It is pretty funny that it's like, yeah, this was not at the same standards as our adventure maps, because we didn't want to make something as complex as the adventure map. Again, like I said, it was a proof of concept, and it worked, and that was the important part. But those were unfortunately the only maps that we made in Minecraft. Granted, again, this took over many years. And if you think about it, because of how complex these were, it was basically like we were making our own games. And so it's no surprise that over like 6 years, we only made 4 of these games, because if we were an actual game development company, 4 games over 6 years would be impressive. Like that would be really, really cool. Like really good. Unless of course they were really bad games, I should say. But the fact
I would say Mario Party is like a mobile game.
Yeah, it really is. It's about that like simple as a mobile game. But
definitely not a bad one. But.
No, like because you know, and I mean we had like $100 microtransactions in there and everything, but that was, you know, not really very important. I would be interested if someone was able to figure out a way to put microtransactions in Minecraft, like in terms of microtransactions, like in a map that you have to pay $50 in order to continue in the map. But I guess you get the special Patreon supporter version of the map, which actually has an ending. But yeah, so anyways, there was also at one point, I don't remember when we did this, I think it was like 2014, Joe and I had made a special YouTube channel. So around this time, I mean, throughout like 2010 and onwards, I think was when I was like making YouTube videos. Most of those videos are privated or deleted, because I'm not very proud of a lot of them. But we also were doing like a lot of Let's Plays, and Joe had started doing some videos as well. He had his own YouTube channel, but he came up with an idea for a YouTube channel that him and I would both run, where we would just make redstone creations. And it was because we had both seen like all these redstone things, and it was like, oh, this is really cool. How do we make this? How do we start kind of jumping on this this bandwagon of like cool people getting to make all these special Minecraft programming maps or videos? And so we made it, and we uploaded like 3 or 4 videos, and then we never uploaded again.
Thankfully for us, that channel no longer exists.
Yes,
but it was a stop along the way.
Yeah, I do still. I realized while I was looking through for the Minecraft Let's Play just like a half hour ago. Apparently, I still have my video uploaded on my own channel as well. I don't know why I uploaded it on both, but
I think that's how it worked. At the time.
Yeah. We were like, go watch this on our other channel, and you can see it there, and that's got like the hub for all of them, but they're also on our own channels. So, and it's like my own video was not very good because I was still kind of trying to understand what redstone was at the time. Your videos were a bit more complex, but the channel's gone now, so they'll never see the light of day.
Let me see. I might have them. Please don't watch them, but I will find them.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
I would say I definitely am not as good at making videos or content in general as you are. I enjoy watching your streams. I feel like I'm very awkward.
Nah, I appreciate that you like to watch my streams, but I always loved your videos. The ones that you made were really funny. Especially your Just Cause 2 one was great. But and your Ascension Survival was pretty great. But yeah, I mean, there was a big time where Joe and I were like uploading videos, and we were doing stuff pretty regularly. And then we both took a big break, and then like I came back after a year or two and started making it. Every time I've come back, I've made different types of videos. I think my most recent wave of videos, like genuinely I'm proud of, and I'm kind of sad that they never really picked up, because this was around the time of like Call Me Kevin and RT Game becoming super popular, and so I was trying to make some sort of similar things. And so like you know, I had like the definitive way to play Fallout 4 is, I think, one of my favorite ones. That one's great.
Yeah, I really like your new style. I would like to see more, but I
Yeah.
know it's very a bit discouraging.
Yeah. Although, so funny thing is, this is kind of a bit of a not related to the podcast, but kind of related to the Minecraft videos and everything. So, for anyone who doesn't know my YouTube channel, it's Bill A Dude, BILLAYDUDE. I made this channel many years ago when that was like an online moniker for me. It doesn't apply to me anymore, but still, I shouldn't say recently because this definitely wasn't recently, but way back when I was making videos back in 2019, my most recent wave of videos, I made one video. I made two videos on Elder Scrolls Online because Joe had brought his Xbox and we had recorded me playing Elder Scrolls Online on his Xbox. And the amount of complaints that I have for that game could fill a book. Like, and they're like game design complaints. It's not just like, oh, I don't like how this looks. It's like, no, the fact that at level 1 you're getting stat buffs of like 4,343, like that sort of number does not make any sense as a level 1. There's no, whatever. Anyways, I like I said, I could talk about that stuff forever. But I had made two videos, one that was ESO is laughably bad, and another one where it was ESO is hilariously bad. And it turns out that ESO is hilariously bad angered the entirety of the Elder Scrolls Online community, all 10 of them, and they all kept posting hate comments and downvoting the video. And like I remember one guy that was like, oh, you don't understand the lore. The Emperor wasn't even involved at this point. This video was hilariously bad. And the funny part too is that then like a war started and there were other comments that were fighting with each other, and like the whole thing went crazy. But it was my most disliked video that I've ever had. Like it was like a 30% like to dislike ratio, because there was all 10 members of the Elder Scrolls Online community really hated it. And so but now that dislikes are gone on YouTube, I can unprivate it and they won't be able to send me any feedback.
Yeah,
take that.
I did not realize those were gone.
Yeah, I want to bring them back because I really like those videos. They were really funny, but but
T-pose with the
Skyrim T-pose edition.
As many videos or views as everyone else.
Yeah, and even then, only 276 views after 2 years. It's like that's the sort of stuff. It got very discouraging because I worked really hard on the new wave of videos, and you and I it was all these videos were you and I making them together. Other than I think it was just both you and I making them, and like I'm really proud of them. Again, especially the definitive way to play Fallout 4. Although I like the Die Rise one, I like the Elder Scrolls ones. I like both the Skyrim ones. But it's whatever. Someday I will get back to making videos, like stream highlights, and then I hope someday to actually make just a lot of videos and do stuff on YouTube a lot. But oh well. Someday. One day. But yeah, so anyways, so normally we sort of have like at the end of the podcast, we talk about what's the game design things to learn from this. The game design stuff to learn from this isn't exactly something that applies for anyone that is interested in game design and making games, because the main thing I would say would be absolute freedom is wonderful, because that's what Minecraft is absolute freedom to do whatever you want. And for the most creative people who are also very interested in game design, they will have a great time with it. The survival mode is great for people who aren't as interested in the absolute freedom and creativity, but still want to be somewhat creative. That sort of allows that. Of course, then there's like Minecraft speed runs that people will do. That's for the people that aren't as creative. They just want to play through the game. Whatever. I mean, there's any number of that.
Servers for social people. There's, mini games and insane things like that. There's and the command block would probably be the best feature in my opinion in all of Minecraft.
Yeah, command block is so useful in the PC version, and is a shame that it's not in the Xbox versions. I kind of understand, like, it would be a lot of obnoxious typing to do with the Xbox controller, although nowadays you can plug in a USB keyboard and just type stuff there. But even still, it is pretty funny because, yeah, it's like you can do, you literally can program an entire game in PC Minecraft with command blocks. But that is like, one big thing is that the absolute freedom that is allowed by Minecraft, like, they don't have to update that game too often. Everyone in the community is making that game into a fun game. They're like, you think about, like Joe had talked about, like mini games and servers and all of these things that people are making using the in-game functionality, like servers for making a world. They might create like a world that everyone goes and lives in or whatever. Mini games or like adventure maps that they might put together and use the wiring in order to do all that. It's like the game itself is very much carried by its community, and that's one of the most impressive parts about Minecraft, is that it does have that community that carries the game, keeps it alive, and is always innovating on it, so that realistically they don't need to have a super huge development team on Minecraft. They don't have to come up with these crazy new ideas. They just have to make sure it works, and the users, the players, will do all the rest.
Yeah, many years ago when Microsoft bought Mojang, the developers of Minecraft, they said, we're going to make this 100-year game, and I think if any game is going to last 100 years, it would be Minecraft.
Yes, yeah, 100%. It's definitely, obviously there are people that will come back and play games from 20, 30 years ago. Like, there's still like a healthy community for Mario 64 or whatever, but like, I think Minecraft has in terms of like 10+ year old games, Minecraft has the biggest longevity and the biggest community still supporting and playing and enjoying it. It really is just super impressive. The game itself has just lived on so much more than I ever could have possibly imagined any game would. And like you said, they want it to be a 100-year-old game. This game has that chance. I mean, because, and when they say 100-year-old game, they're not saying like, oh, people will play it in 100 years. Sure. I mean, people are still, like I said, people are still playing Mario 64. People are still playing Pong. People are playing Tennis for Two. Like,
people are actively modding Daggerfall.
Yeah, exactly. Daggerfall still has a huge community, which is ridiculous. But like, the actual developers for Minecraft are still updating it, and the game is still being kept current, and it doesn't seem like that will ever stop unless they actually shut the game down itself, because there is so much that you can do in the game. And I mean, there's like visual stuff you can do, like you can add in different texture packs. You can create new maps that do all sorts of crazy different things. All they need to do is keep adding in new enemies or creatures at any points, and players will do who knows what with them. They'll create new boss battles with like upscaled versions of them or something. I mean, there's like so many things that you can do. So it's a pretty cool game. The other big
Get yourself
thing,
a copy.
yeah. If you have never played it, definitely do. But like, again, you're able to do whatever you want to do in it. If you like adventure games, play it. If you like survival games, play it. If you like creative games, play it. If you like sandbox open world games, play it. If you like fighting games like Street Fighter, I'm sure there's some way to figure out a way to get that to work in there. Like, it's just really, really impressive. The other big thing to get from this whole talk show is that Joe and I are passionate about game design. We've talked about maps that we've made and experiences that we've had playing this game and creating in this game. So for one, that's proof that what we're, when we're talking about game design and game programming and all this different stuff about games, we mean what we're talking about. We have the experience, and the care for these games. And two, keep an eye out for us for sometime a few years down the line when we're actually making games, and you can see our work in action.
Buy our game.
But yeah, buyourgame.com. I don't know if that's actually a website. Probably don't go there. That might be a virus. No, but
I'll do it so you don't have to.
I do think that would be a fun thing for us to work on, is at some point when we're able to play through our adventure map, especially our adventure map 2, to go in and make like a miniature version of that as a thing for us, like to make something like that in Unity or Unreal and experience it. So yeah, so that's the big thing that we wanted to talk about. That's how Minecraft changed our life, is through leading us down our path of game design and game and computer programming. Both Joe and I would not, I mean, I do think we would still have these interests. Obviously, it's not like just one game, playing it for a while completely caused us to, like, if we hadn't played this game, we would have never even thought about it. But they are what allowed us to see both of our passions in action, as well as us actually like using our passions and doing things with those passions. And that sort of led us to where we are now, where it's like, okay, we can actually make this into a reality. We're going to school for these classes. We're actually doing work with this. So it's an interesting world.